Hey folks, Dr. Brian King here, and this time I'm coming to you from Abilene, Texas. And passing through town gave me an opportunity to get to know a comedian who I never met before, but she has a presence on my social media. Like, I see her all the time. I forget when we started following each other, but she clearly has a lot of comedian friends that are also friends of mine, and turns out she was a comedian from California. And so since I started in California, I think that kind of explains a lot of the connections that we share. But she seems like a very interesting person, and she lives here in Abilene, Texas now, and I thought I'd like to get a chance to meet her. So everybody, welcome to the show. This is Molly Magee.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Booze, women, and booze. I'm here, I'm there,
I just have to set the record straight on something.
Yes, please do.
I'm actually a Central Valley comic, 209
Central
comic.
Valley?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like Sacramento, or?
No, I'm in the sort of, I think, Stockton, Modesto, Lodi.
Okay, so that.
I'm personally from Stockton, where Nick and Nate Diaz are from. Home of the
okay.
Stockton Slap. Never heard of that?
I've never heard. Tell me what the Stockton Slap is.
Well, apparently Nate Diaz just started slapping people, and they start calling it the. They actually have him in an interview. They're like, "Hey, tell us about the Stockton Slap." He goes, "I just slap people." They start calling it that.
And so it's like, now is it something that's caught on, and like everybody in Stockton is just slapping people?
Yeah, well, that's always been
style?
the case.
Yeah.
That's why they had to learn how to fight, I guess.
So that's where you're from originally?
Mm-hmm.
You ever play Fresno, Bakersfield, those markets?
I have a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
I did those a long time ago.
Yeah, you probably don't want to go back.
I would. I mean, there's a place.
Yeah, so you started popping up on my radar as, I think, associated primarily with the Sacramento scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you were just, hitting the Sacramento
Right.
clubs.
Well, we don't. Well, now there's a club in the 209 called the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club that was just recently opened. But the closest, easiest to get to clubs were in Sacramento to me. So that's probably why you saw me out there.
Deaf puppy, that's like so tragic.
Yeah, well, they actually had a puppy that was deaf, so they named the club after her.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's a nice way to honor that poor puppy. So when did you get started doing comedy?
About 10 years ago, I started doing comedy. I did it for about 4 years. There was sort of something that happened, and I took 4 years off when I came back. So I've been back about 2 years. So 6 years with an asterisk.
Okay, so 6 years, but you 10 years ago with a break. Right?
Yes.
And you've been doing comedy for 6 years. That's very cool. And where has comedy taken you?
Well, I was able to make it into the main event of the World Series of Comedy in Vegas.
Nice, very cool.
I've been able to do Laugh After Dark for Hulu. I'm not claiming that as a credit because they haven't selected me for the show yet, but I was able to get into the festival.
I know comedians who have done less who claim more.
It's just such a cool thing.
Yeah.
Just even being in the festival, and it was actually a 209 comic who won Best in Fest. It was Ellis Rodriguez won Best in Fest. And
Ellis. I love Ellis. He's a very funny guy.
It was so great. It was just standing there with like Insane Wayne and Ellis, and I just felt like a real comic out there.
Ellis, I always associated him as a Sacramento comic. But he's
from Stockton.
I started in San Francisco, and I don't think you and I overlapped because I started in 2009, and I was there for several years. I ran a comedy club in Fisherman's Wharf.
Oh, wow.
And then I started touring, and then you start rising up the ranks, and I'm like, who's this Molly Magee character, man? How are you all over my Facebook? So how was that?
I don't know. I'll keep doing it though. Get all over everything.
I don't mind it.
Facebook.
I don't mind it, and it's really cool to actually meet you in person.
It's so nice
what were
to meet you.
How'd you end up coming to Abilene?
Well, so I just, so I'm a veteran, and I got my VA home loan approved, and he's like, the good news is you're approved for $250,000. I was like, awesome. He goes, the bad news is you're not going to find anything in California that the VA will approve because it'll be a hobble. And so, and with me and my son, like, I need to have something comfortable in a good neighborhood. So I just decided, well, I guess I'm not welcome in California anymore. So I came to Abilene because a family member's here. Well, close friends in sixth grade, yeah. So I wanted support for my son.
Nice. So yeah, and you've been here how long?
Just since like the last day of December.
Oh wow, so really recent.
Very recent, yeah.
Is there a comedy scene here in Abilene?
Okay, so there is a comedian, John Reynolds, who I spoke with online, who I guess hosts an open mic. I wasn't able to make it because I had to be in Dallas that weekend, but I mean, he said it had a great turnout, so I don't know, but I'm hoping to do some things here. I befriended this guy named Lowell who does a lot of the karaoke stuff around, so he wants to start producing more things here. He has a lot of relationships with venues, and he has the equipment. So hopefully, here's hoping there's going to be a little bit more time to work stuff out. Because as it is, I'm driving 3.5 hours to do comedy every time.
Now, there's a lot of comedy in Dallas, a lot of comedy in Austin, San Antonio. I think probably the other direction, El Paso, is a little bit too far, but
so? That's far.
But it'd be nice to have a bigger scene here, And I've never done comedy in Abilene, but if anything happens, I'll consider coming out for it. It's a nice area. People don't know.
I love this town, but truth be told, after my lease is up, I'll probably be relocating closer to Austin.
Oh, really? So
I'm
you're not going to
thinking,
buy that house?
No, I was like, well, maybe I should hesitate and figure out where exactly I want to set roots.
Yeah, you're not going to find a house in Austin for that price either.
No, but that's not what I would want. Like, I really don't want to live in a big city. I would prefer to find like some little nook, like an hour away or something. Anything closer than 3.5 or 4 hours or whatever it is.
There's still some, like converted ranch land and stuff within an hour drive of Austin. That you could probably find.
Even San Antonio, the prices are much more affordable than California.
During the pandemic, a lot of people moved to Texas. I was one of them. That's why I ended up in Texas.
Oh, you live in Texas?
Yeah,
I thought you were just passing
No, I live in Dallas. I'm passing through Abilene on tour. And then after this, I go to Lubbock and Amarillo. So it's a tour that I'm doing. But I actually do live in Dallas, and I came to Texas during the pandemic, and I love it. I think it's great. Austin is awesome, but it's also got the same problem that California has with the cost of living. So that's the one downside. So tell me about your comedy, since I've never seen you perform.
Maybe I should have sent you a clip before.
Yeah, maybe, I know. I was like, oh man, should I really want to interview him?
Right. You must have heard something positive.
Well, that's just it.
Just a mix of everything. So like I have lesbian parents and a redneck dad, and I have a lazy eyelid and got called, Rocky after the fight when I was growing up. Like, there's stuff like that. There's stuff about like weight loss. I lost 110 pounds.
Hey,
stuff
good for you.
It.
Wow.
Yeah, but gained 30 back. So I lost 90 pounds.
I lost 100. I gained about 30 back.
Was it when Taco Bell came out with the Mexican pizza again?
Know,
That's
right?
what did it for me.
For me, it was, what it was? I wrote a book. So I've written several books, and the last one I wrote was all about losing the 100 pounds. And after that book came out, I don't know that if something clicked in my head that I was like, oh, well, I could just take a break for now. But I started easing up, on my restrictions, and
I know what that's like. That's what I did.
Yeah, and now I'm on tour, and it's hard to manage your weight when you're traveling all the time, but I'm trying. Like, each of these hotels has a gym, and every day I look at it while I'm going to bed. One of these days I'll actually go into the gym that they have.
Hey, it's the thought that counts.
That's right.
Are you like a stress eater, emotional eater, bored eater?
I'm more of a bored eater and an eater for fun. And that's where the touring comes in, because as I'm traveling, there's a lot of fun to be had. Some cities, you roll into it, and there's nothing to do but go to the nice restaurant.
Yeah, and this is kind of, I don't know, I haven't been here long enough to speak on, like, to say, don't quote me on that, but like, so far since I've been here, you have amazing restaurants.
Yeah.
Amazing restaurants. Like, I ate at the Beehive. Have you eaten there yet?
No. Is it good? No. Well,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I don't know if you've never been to Amarillo, right?
No.
So there's a restaurant up there called the Big Texan Steak Ranch. and it is it's famous because they have like a giant steak that if you eat it in an hour, it's free. It's 72 ounces
my
of
gosh.
steak. Every time I go through Amarillo, I go to that restaurant, and every time I'm like, do I want to attempt the steak? You know, because it's like if you don't eat it, it's $100. You know, it's
my gosh.
and yeah, I feel like I could take it, but also there's a part of me that's like, why would I take
Yeah,
it? You know,
should you and could you are definitely different questions.
so this is what I'm wrestling with as I'm leading my tour up Central Texas to hit Amarillo. So Friday night, I know I'm going to go there because I can't not go there. Is this going to be the time when I try the 72-ounce steak? I don't know. We'll see.
I wonder if like you could work out a deal where if two of you finish it, you get half off.
I'm sure they've gotten lots of those deals.
Because if you could eat half of it.
Yeah. I know I could eat it. It's just a matter of like eating it in the hour too. That's another thing.
That's the thing, yeah. If I could like just chop it up and freeze some of it and eat it over a few weeks, I could eat the whole thing.
Yeah,
too.
you know, I'll finish it next week. Just give me a doggy bag. You know.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm glad I don't have to pay for this, this giant
exactly.
steak. So yeah, Abilene is known for steakhouses too. There's a whole bunch of them here. And what's the Beehive? What's that?
Oh, so I think it's a steakhouse. Yeah.
Is it?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
really
miss
good.
California though?
I miss my friends. I miss the people. I miss some of the venues. Like I miss my home club, Laughs Unlimited, and you know, of course, I miss it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I don't know, I was ready for a change, and I like Texas. My political views are sort of moderate, sort of maybe even center right. You know, so it's like it's nice to come out and try to explore a scene in a different. Kind of a whole different space that has different like values as far as the statistically. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I hear that Austin's very liberal still. So
The Californians' perception of Texas is one where we're just like a bunch of gun-toting whack jobs out
right,
there, you know?
Yeah.
It's really strange because, you know, California isn't defined by a single ideology, you know, and yet, you know, so and yet I get that from my California friends. It's like, what are you doing in Texas? You know,
right?
Like everybody's got a gun and everybody hates abortion and loves Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not like that.
I know.
You know?
That's the weirdest thing too, is because like, and by the way, I'm not like a political comic. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not
either. I'm not either.
But
I feel
I'm
you
an
though.
opinionated comic, so that
I
might
feel
come
you on
out.
the Texas thing.
Sure.
I'm not a political comic either. But I think as I had a kid, I became a little bit more right leaning than I was previously. But I'm still like pretty in the middle, and I don't even vote. So it's like, you know, I'm very non-political, but I recognize these things, and most of the people that I interact with are extreme left, or you know, they're
right. And that's the thing, is that out here it's like there's a place that's here, it's the opposite, where it's like if you're not extreme, if you're not right, then they'll unplug your equipment. You know, is from what I hear. But I mean, I feel like out here there's just a little bit more wiggle room to just kind of be either way, and I feel like I was starting to feel stifled in certain areas in California. Well, plus I grew up in the Central Valley, which is what I call the Midwest of California.
So it's
always
the more
been a little
conservative
bit
part
more.
of California.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of like when things began to move more and more left, when the goalposts kept getting moved, I felt more and more out of line with like the values of the area, and I was like, I'm gonna get canceled if I stay here, so I just better leave.
You know, when
it's nothing bad. It's not like I have like, you know, extreme views or anything, but
it's conflicting because on the one hand, like I used to live in the city and it was great and things were, but it was different times. It was like it was pre-COVID, things were prosperous and good, and things have changed a lot for a lot of people's opinions. You know?
After being there and being here, and honestly, Abilene that's Texas. Like this isn't Austin. You're getting the real deal sample snack size of like, this is what it's like. And like you said, over there, they make it sound like I'm coming over here and there's going to be a Klan rally when I get off the plane, you know? And I came here and I've been talking to the locals, and I'm guilty of it. I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be weird. Like, I grew up with lesbian parents, like I'm bisexual myself, so it's like I'm LGBT, and so it's like, oh, it's going to be weird, right? So then I get here and I'm talking to them, and it's like super laid back. They're not even like that. They're very like open-minded, and the ones I've spoken with, and And then we talk about California and some of the laws that are being put in place and things that are being discussed and everything, they're like, really? And so it's like they don't even have that same polarization of California. So California, I feel, makes it sound worse than it is here, and over here they almost don't know how bad it can get over there. It's like they're kind of like estranged to it a little bit.
I would classify Texas as more like libertarian. It's like more like live and let live.
Yeah,
you know,
that's kind of it.
And if that translates to like supporting conservative ideas or politicians or whatever, and you know, but because it's really like they just don't care. It's like you do as long as you're not hurting people. You know.
Yep. Just do you. I'll mind my business. You mind your business. You know. I think that's kind of, I guess you could say I'm closer to libertarian. There's some fiscally like different or whatever you call that. Maybe I have views, but
the one thing that kind of surprised me the first time I encountered it in Texas is it's very gun laws are much more liberal than California.
See, that's one of the reasons I like it here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a veteran, so like, and I have a redneck dad, so like I grew up. I was like, I have guns, and I've always loved guns.
I'll tell you though, the first time I ever saw somebody walking like with an open carry, you know, was at Galveston on the beach. This guy is he's wearing
Speedo
shorts
and then like
a Speedo and a holster, man. Now he's wearing like jean shorts. But still, it's like, why do you need a gun at the beach? You know, like I felt a little unnerved by that because it's like, you know, it's a strange thing to observe.
It's nerdy, I think.
Yeah.
A little corny, I think.
Like it's not like you see people walk around with guns all the time, anyway. But at the beach in particular, I was like, what the hell?
Oh my goodness! You can't even put on a fanny pack. Dude. Come on.
Something, you know. No, it's just part of the guy's outfit, and so that's I think that's the only.
I'm trying to picture what kind of gun would like be suitable for like swimwear.
Right. Well, it'd have to be waterproof.
I can only think of sport guns. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. It's an interesting relocation coming from California to Texas. See, and I didn't know anything about your backstory. I think the impression I had of you after following you on social media for so long was maybe you were a Texan originally and you lived in California and then you came back, but so you're like born and raised Californian?
I am. There was a very brief time when I was in the military. I was here for basic training in tech school, and then I was stationed in New Mexico, which is a hop, skip, and a jump. But other than that, no. I'm
How long
California.
were you in the military?
Only 1 year before I was injured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was honorably discharged, but for medical.
Well, thank you for your service anyway. I appreciate it. I'm a child of military. You know, I was raised in the military, which is kind of.
Did you move around a lot?
All the time, like every 3 or 4 years. You know?
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of why I'm so comfortable being a touring comedian. You know, in many ways.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up moving around. And as an adult, it's like I kind of get restless if I don't move around. So
you know, and some people they go the whole opposite direction. They're like, I moved around as a kid. I don't want to. I want to sit in one place. You know, I think it has to do with your brain circuit type. Honestly, I used to work for this business consulting place. It's called Sea Change Business Consulting, and it's fascinating. Like they have this stuff about brain circuit types. There's like 4 different ones, and it's based in neuroscience. So it's like, and you read it, it's like. So eerily accurate. You take like a 5-question quiz. I'd be curious to know because like 2 out of the 4 are really good with change and they're just like let's go like what you're like, and then the other 2 are like they don't like spontaneity. They're just kind of But so that's what makes me think it might be a brain circuit type where in that environment maybe it takes you to the extreme of whatever's natural to you. So like if you were naturally someone okay with change, maybe moving around a lot made it towards like now it's mandatory.
I have to.
Like it kind of maybe exaggerates that.
If I stay too long in one environment or at one activity or one job, whatever, I start to get really antsy. You know, like
I feel that.
You ever see that movie Ricky Bobby, Will Ferrell?
Oh yeah. Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
I love
That's
that movie.
right. So there's that scene, the dinner scene, where everything is like good and normal. And his father is with him. They're at dinner. I think it's Applebee's or whatever restaurant they went to. And he looks around. And he's like, okay, there's my grandkids. There's my, it's like, and he just has to stir some trouble and like create something, and it just causes.
Was
this
it
big,
like I said no onions?
Yeah. And it's like you can see like his motivation for doing that is just because like this is too normal.
Yes.
Like this is too. I have to shake it up a little bit,
Yeah.
I don't cause scenes in restaurants.
That's the comedian in you too. I think that too, because like I don't know how you feel about this. Do you think that being a comedian, how much of it do you think is nature versus nurture? Like how do you think that there's a psychological profile involved in being a comic? Because I think there is to some degree.
Yeah, there is, and I'm somebody who's. You ask that question to me, it's a little bit of a loaded question because I'm also a psychologist. So I kind of.
Then I'm asking the right person.
Well, but I can't give you like an opinion because I've read
then
research.
It's on record. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but I do. I think there's definitely the drive. And comedians are. It takes a certain type of person who's willing to drive like 3 hours for a chance to do 5 minutes.
For free.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a certain level of crazy that goes along with that.
For sure.
And when I first started comedy, I was in San Francisco, and like I said, I ran a comedy club there, and I did all that because I got laid off from my day job. When I had a day job, it was a well-paying day job. You got to have a good day job to live in San Francisco. And as soon as I started doing comedy, like a month later, I got laid off. And the reason is because I started to care less and less about that job and more and more about comedy,
Because that's where your nature was taking you probably.
Eventually, like my boss will be something like, hey, I need you to stay late tonight. I'm like, I can't. I got to go to this open mic at the, the Brainwash.
I remember the Brainwash.
Yeah. It closed while I was away, which is unfortunate.
They were like doing some construction. It was just terrible for their business.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever recovered.
I just remember like, I can't stay late. I got to do this open mic, and like the look on my boss's face, when he realized that that was my priority. It's kind of funny to me, and I always, I think people should do what they need to do to support themselves, But if you're not enjoying it, then you have to have something. And for me, it was, I started doing comedy, and I was like, whoa, I really like this, and I never went back. That was my last employed job. I've been self-employed ever since. So.
Well, then maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. And I got to meet you in Abilene as a part of that,
Yeah. Well, and I'll be seeing you in Dallas all the time. I'm going to be, I guess I'm opening for Carlos Mencia in October.
Are you?
Yeah, it's going to be on the weekend of my birthday.
Oh, that's
so if
awesome.
you're out there, you should,
that's awesome.
Kick it.
I don't know what my schedule's going to be like in October, but if I have a reason, I'm going to make a point to make sure I'll be in that town.
Cool, yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned Mencia, because talking about Stockton, one of my fondest memories of Stockton is with Carlos.
No kidding.
Yeah. I was an early comedian, an early comic. Carlos came through, I had a connection with his crew. One of his buddies who travels with him was a photographer, and I knew the photographer because I'm also a photographer, and we just ended up partying all night.
Yeah.
How'd you line that up, by the way?
Jimmy Earl works with them a lot, and he's just one of my mentors and just people I really look up to a lot.
Mm-hmm. You worked with him before?
Oh no, this will be my first time ever meeting him. I'm nervous.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He's very approachable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed reviews, but everybody has their opinions. So
yeah.
It might also be maybe he don't like you. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
I don't know.
Who else have you worked for?
Alonzo Bowden. I was able to open for him at San Jose Improv. Such a cool guy. I'll text him out. Like he's like my celebrity mentor,
Uh-huh.
So like I'll text him and just be like, where in the world are you right now? And it's some random place. He's somewhere,
Yeah.
who knows, on a cruise ship, or he's in some other state. So a lot of the comics I've worked with, like I've worked with DJ Sandu and, Ellis
I know
and
DJ.
Shane Wayne so people like that.
I'm not that close to the California scenes anymore, but I like watching their careers progress. And DJ is one of those people who's starting to really take off.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's doing really well.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
always been very funny, but I'm seeing him.
he's been professional circuit
Yeah.
for a while now, but yeah, I'm sure he's gonna just keep.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
And then there's like Kabir and Sammy.
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
if you
Oh
work-
yes.
yeah.
I've worked with Kabir.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. He's actually part of my origin story.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's share this.
Okay, so I've wanted to be a comedian since I was like 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I just all my life, and then I was terrified because at that age, like your brain's still developing, like you still believe in superheroes and stuff.
Right.
And so when I would watch, like, and I'm dating myself, but Eddie Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
like when he would perform, and or like Richard Pryor, or like George Carlin, like that's what my parents were letting me watch at 6 years old. And so I would watch them, and I would think they were hypnotizing everyone
Oh yeah.
because everybody would laugh when they wanted them to laugh,
Ah,
and they'd
I
make the
can
noises,
see
and
that,
they would
yeah.
quiet when they wanted. And I saw that, and I thought like they had this like mind control power,
Yeah.
and I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and like how wonderful that must be. And so even though like as you get older, like logically you're like, obviously it's not a supernatural power, like you
Right,
know what I mean,
right,
but
right.
still if you thought that in your early development, there's still that mental block that like I can't do it. Only people that are superheroes can do it. I can't do it. So eventually I met Taylor Evans, who's also up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
You should check out Taylor Evans. He's hilarious, also from the 209.
Yeah.
So I finally met a comedian, and he's so funny, and we got to know each other, and he was like, "You're so funny. Why don't you do comedy?" I'm like, "Cause I'm not a comedian." He's like, "What do you mean because you're not a comedian?" So anyway, I should rush through the story so he finally he got me to come and watch his competition, which he won.
Mm-hmm.
And the headliner of that competition, while they're doing the calculations, was
Mm-hmm.
Kabir Singh.
Okay.
And so after the show, Taylor, and I know he had this all planned out, he goes, "Hey, come meet one of my friends." So he took me over and introduced me to one of the comics, and he goes, "Tell him one of your jokes." And I was like, he's like, "She's going to be a comedian." He's like, "Oh, okay." And so I told him my joke.
Uh-huh.
And he laughed. He's like, "Yeah, you're really good." I said, "Thanks." He goes, "You should meet my friend." His friend's Kabir Singh.
Nice.
So he walks over to Kabir Singh, and I'm just shocked. Like, I'm all like, like, what do I do? He's a real comedian. He's a real comedian. And then, so, not that Taylor isn't, but
Right.
it's a
Well,
difference.
Kabir,
It's a
I think
difference.
at this point in time, probably Kabir had already done some TV.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
he's-
Like, I had already heard
Yeah.
of him and stuff, so, like, I was a little starstruck. And then he says, his friend goes, "Hey, man, she's going to be a comedian." And Kabir was like, cool, right on, you know. No, he wasn't being rude, but he was kind of whatever.
It's just not. Yeah.
Sure,
Everybody's
it
going to
was
be a
like,
comedian
everybody said-
someday.
And then
yeah.
his friend goes, "No, man, she's going to be a comedian." Then he's intrigued. Then Kabir's
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, really?"
Oh, okay.
And then
okay.
he's like, "Okay, tell me a joke." So I tell him the joke. And I'm nervous because it's like, I don't know if you've seen Boondock Saints. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen that? You know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part where the mafia guy's like, "Tell me a joke." And I like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
he felt. And so I was like, ugh. And so I tell him the joke. And luckily he laughed and thought it was hilarious. And then he goes, and then he high-fived his friend
Uh-huh.
for saying that I was going to be a comedian.
Nice,
and I
nice.
thought that felt good. But then he goes, "Tell me another one." And then it felt like,
Are you
Boondock
doing like a
Saints.
type 5 for
He goes,
Kabir in the
"Tell
green
me
room?
another one." And I was like, so yeah, then I told him another one, and then, you know, so he was joking around, and he goes, "You know what, yeah, you guys, yeah, I think you could do it." He said, he's like, "Listen, if you weren't funny, I would tell you, and I would be kind of a dick about it." And he's like, not to be mean, but like, and he's asked my friend, and his friend's like, "Yeah, he would be kind of a dick about it." I'm like, "Now you tell me?" Like, okay, well, thanks for risking that,
Yeah.
crushing my soul. No, but you guys, it's because it's just such a hard thing to do,
It is,
comedy.
it's
And he
tough.
said, and I wouldn't want you to waste your time. I wouldn't sit here and lie to you, you
Yeah.
know? And so then we walked away, and then Taylor was like, "Now do you believe me?" And I'm
That's
just
awesome.
like,
That's
"All right."
awesome.
So yeah. And then I talked to
Did you ever tell him that? Did you ever
so get this. So, oh my God, it's so funny. So then Kabir, after that, I had booked me for like 2 shows.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh my God, like now I'm performing for Kabir. Like now, oh my God, like I've opened for him and stuff." I was just really, really good. And I went over to him and I said, "Hey man, you know, thanks again for booking me. Like you were such a big part of my," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" He forgot the whole thing. He forgot the
Yeah.
whole story. It meant nothing to him. I was like, "Dude."
Well, interactions like that are kind of common.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I've had those kind of talks when people are like, "Hey, I'm thinking about trying comedy." You know, it's like you don't want to squish their dreams, but you kind of want to give them a reality check. You know.
But at the same time, it was kind of cool because I thought that the reason he hit me up and was booking me was because, it was like, oh, hey, that's that girl.
Oh, you thought he remembered you.
I thought he remembered me.
Yeah.
He was like, no, that's cool. Like, let's book her. Like, I thought it was like kind of like a favor almost. Like I had but then I found out, no, he just had heard I was funny.
That's awesome.
So that I felt like, oh, that's even kind of cooler that I got it on my own merit, not because, oh, hey, look at that little.
That's right.
Little baby comic that I was,
Kabir, if you're watching this, buddy, you're making dreams happen right here.
Yeah, he knows.
He's
Well,
doing
hopefully
good work.
he knows now. He kept forgetting me every time I'd see him. I'm like, dude, it's the same. I'm the same person every time. Every time I meet you, Kabir.
Yeah, I'm getting to about that time where I start wrapping things up.
Okey-doke.
It was super cool to get to know you. It really was. I know that I'm passing through and you don't know who I am, and we just happen to be Facebook friends. But I'm glad you met with me and to record this. I think it was kind of nice, and I'm glad to have met you. And I hope that you continue to be successful in comedy. And I really want to see you open for Mencia. I think that's going to be super cool.
Yeah, my birthday is October 11th, so to be around that time.
I'll try to remember that, put it in my calendar so I know I'm not out of town that weekend. But anybody watching this or listening to this, if they want to find out more about you, how can they do that?
So basically all my social media is just at Miss Molly Magee. It's MSMOLLYMAG.
Okay.
MC.
Awesome meeting you. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything. And folks, thank you guys for watching and listening, supporting my podcast. This has been another episode of On the Road with Dr. Brian. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and booze. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. I'm an asshole, I'm rude.